Imagine this. It's October 1929, and the stock market has just crashed. Everyone thinks that's the end of the story, the big reason America plunged into the worst economic nightmare in its history. But what if I told you the crash was just the spark, and the real hidden fire that made the Great Depression so brutally long, deep, and devastating was something almost no one talks about today? That hidden reason? The Federal Reserve's catastrophic failure to act, followed by actions that made everything far worse. While textbooks blame the stock crash, tariffs, or greedy speculators, the evidence points to a monetary policy disaster that turned a bad recession into a decade-long catastrophe. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why the Great Depression wasn't just bad, it was preventable bad, and the lessons hit harder than ever in our modern economy. Let's start at the beginning. The 1920s, the so-called Roaring Twenties, looked like endless prosperity. Factories were humming, cars were rolling off assembly lines, radios were in every home, and the stock market was soaring. But beneath the glamour, cracks were forming. Consumer debt was piling up, people buying on credit like there was no tomorrow. Income inequality was massive. The top 1% captured a huge share of gains, while wages for average workers stagnated. Farmers were already hurting from overproduction and falling prices after World War I. Then came Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929. The Dow Jones plunged 12% in one day, wiping out billions. Panic selling ensued. But here's the key. The crash didn't cause the depression by itself. It was a symptom of deeper problems. The real killer was what happened next, especially with America's young central bank, the Federal Reserve. The Fed had been created in 1913 to prevent panics like 1907, but in the late 1920s, it actually fueled the stock bubble by keeping interest rates low and flooding the system with easy money. When the crash hit, instead of stepping in to provide liquidity like a modern central bank would, the Fed did the opposite. It tightened credit. Banks were already fragile. Many had loaned heavily to stock speculators. When stocks tanked, those loans went bad. Between 1930 and 1933, America suffered 4 massive banking panics. People rushed to withdraw their savings, fearing their bank would fail. Healthy banks got dragged down by runs. Over 9,000 banks, about 1/3 of all U.S. banks, collapsed. Deposits vanished. Savings accounts turned to dust overnight. Without deposit insurance, which didn't exist until 1933, millions lost everything. But the Fed? It stood by. It let the money supply shrink by nearly 30%. That's right, 30%. Prices fell dramatically. Deflation hit 10% a year. Deflation sounds good if you're holding cash, but it's poison for an indebted economy. Debts stay the same while incomes and prices drop, making loans impossible to pay. Businesses cut wages, laid off workers, or shut down. Consumers stopped spending, waiting for even lower prices. It created a vicious downward spiral. Economist Irving Fisher called this the debt deflation trap. He said over-indebtedness plus deflation was the dominant cause, more than tariffs or the crash. Milton Friedman and Anna Schwartz later blamed the Fed's inaction in their famous book, American Monetary History. Ben Bernanke, former Fed chair, admitted the Fed's mistakes turned a garden-variety recession into the Great Depression.
Think about it. Industrial production fell over 45%. Unemployment hit 25%. 1 in 4 workers jobless. Real GDP dropped nearly 30%. Families lost homes to foreclosure. Farmers burned crops they couldn't sell while people starved in cities. Soup lines stretched for blocks. Hoovervilles, shantytowns named after President Hoover, sprang up everywhere. And it wasn't just economics. Birth rates collapsed as couples delayed families. Suicide rates spiked. Marriage rates fell. The Dust Bowl hit the Great Plains. Drought plus poor farming practices turned fertile land into a dust storm hellscape. Millions migrated west, like in Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. It broke spirits. It shook faith in capitalism itself. Now, why was this worse than we think? Most people focus on the 25% unemployment stat, but dig deeper. That doesn't count underemployment, people working part-time or odd jobs just to survive. It doesn't capture the psychological toll, the shame of standing in bread lines, the fear every day that you'd lose what little you had. Women entered the workforce in droves, often taking low-paid jobs men wouldn't touch. African Americans and minorities faced double discrimination, last hired, first fired. Rural areas suffered silently. 1/3 of farmers lost their land. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930 gets blamed a lot. It raised tariffs to protect U.S. industries, but other countries retaliated, crushing global trade. Exports fell sharply. But even economists say it worsened things. It wasn't the main driver. The U.S. was mostly a closed economy back then. Trade was small compared to domestic activity. The gold standard tied everyone's hands. Countries had to defend their gold reserves, so they raised rates when gold flowed out, spreading the pain worldwide. But again, the U.S. Fed could have eased off the gold standard earlier. Instead, it clung to it, worsening deflation. Herbert Hoover gets painted as a no-doing president. That's partly myth. He did intervene, public works, loans to banks, but too little, too late, and often in the wrong way. He raised taxes in 1932 to balance the budget during deflation, exactly the wrong move. It sucked more money out of the economy. Then came Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933. The New Deal brought relief, CCC camps, WPA jobs, Social Security seeds. FDR took the U.S. off the gold standard for domestic use, allowing money supply expansion. Banking holiday stabilized the system, but recovery was uneven. Unemployment stayed high until World War II. Some New Deal policies, like wage controls and farm subsidies, actually prolonged unemployment by raising costs for businesses. The hidden reason it was so bad? Policy failure amplified natural shocks. A stock crash happens, banking panics happen, but a central bank letting the money supply collapse by 1/3? That's man-made disaster. Modern economists agree, better monetary policy could have cut the Depression's length and depth in half. Today, we have FDIC insurance, automatic stabilizers, and the Fed learned its lesson. Look at 2008 or COVID responses. They flooded the system with liquidity. No repeat of the 1930s banking collapse. But the lessons linger. Debt levels are high again. Inequality is back. Central banks walk a tightrope. If deflation ever returns, or if policy mistakes compound a shock, we could see echoes. The Great Depression wasn't inevitable doom from capitalism gone wild. It was a tragic series of policy blunders, especially the Fed's hidden failure, that turned crisis into catastrophe. So next time someone says the market crashed and that was it, remember, the real story is deeper, darker, and more preventable. The hidden reason it was worse than we think? Bad money policy killed the recovery before it could start. What do you think? Could we avoid something like this today? Drop your thoughts below, hit like if this opened your eyes, and subscribe for more deep dives into finance history that actually matter. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, because history doesn't repeat, but it sure rhymes.